Hey everyone, welcome to this fun practice. In this one, we're going to demonstrate a few things by, talking about rows and nested lists and things like that. So I want to show you a few things, especially the few things that we've been talking about. As I said, nested lists and also off by one error as well. So I want you to see these things in action when you code so you can actually get better at it. So as always, you can access the practice files in the resource section. There is the original file, which is going to be like this, and also the completed version as well is included there. Again, I strongly as always recommend to try to solve this by yourself before you actually go to practice file or before you actually watch me do it, or even after. Try to not do it with me, because I want you to actually write your code off of your own mind instead of just watching someone. Okay, it's really important. So what are we talking about here? So in this practice, we have some sort of a chessboard. If you think about it, we got like rows here, right? So we got these rows, and these rows, they each have like 3 items in it. And again, you can imagine this like a chessboard. And if you think about a chessboard, for example, if you want to refer to a certain part or a certain piece of the board, you can actually, for example, say 5C, or this, for example, is located as 7C or something like that. So the idea with this is that because of these identifiers, you can actually refer to these spots in the board, location or position in the board. And what we're doing here is that you can imagine these rows 1, 2, 3 as an entire chess piece. All right, so like these are the rows. We got the column and we got the rows. So we got the column here, which is like top to bottom, and then the row, which is like left to right. So, and also we got another list, which is a nested list. So we got these lists right here, and then we got a nested list which includes all the rows here. So objective here is that we want to receive a number from the user, for example, again 2, 3, and the first number is going to be the column, right? So that would be the top to bottom, and then the second number is going to be the row. So if someone enters 2, 3, for example, we want to identify the second column, right? That would be this column, top to bottom, and then number 3, that would be this. So my thinking is that we could ask people to enter a number, and then based on that number, we're going to change the letter on this board and display it something else. So if you think about it, if I actually run this right now, we get this, let's say right now it doesn't work, but if I look at it, it's going to display the board like the way it is, right? So again, it looks like this, but I want to replace the edge with an X, for example, like in big X, when someone enters a position. So what we need to do is we need to do a few things. First, we need to identify that position. We need to change this number from a string to a integer, right? And then we need to actually replace it. That's a bunch of things that you gotta do. So again, I strongly recommend to think about this and see how you can do it. All right, so how you can actually identify these numbers and spots and how you can actually do it. So again, take a moment to think about this, and after this, we're gonna actually get started. So I'll give you a minute. You can pause the video. All right, so hopefully you try to do this a little bit by yourself, and hopefully you got something. Now, as I said, we're gonna come across a few things which I'd like you to see, especially the off by one error, which I would like to actually point out here. So let's actually get rid of this. We're gonna code here. All right, so now let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is we actually need to identify the horizontal and vertical numbers, right? So when someone enters 2, 3, we need to figure out, okay, what is 2 and what is 3. All right, so the first thing we want to do, we're gonna do two. We're gonna basically create 2 variables. I'm gonna say horizontal. All right, horizontal. So we're gonna say that is going to be int, and again, this is really important. So for example, we can say position 0, right? So that would be the first position. If you think about it, we're going to say this 23, the number that user is going to enter, right? So the first letter of that is going to be 2. So that's the number we're getting with this. But as I said, this is not a integer. This is a string, right? So we need to turn it into an integer. So the way we do this, if you remember, is we use an integer, right? So that way we turn that number into an integer. And same thing for the vertical. So I'm going to say vertical, all right? And we're going to say equals, and again, integer, position, and we're going to say 1. So as I said, if you remember, with the index numbers, it starts from 0. So that would be the first number. For example, from the 23, that would be 2. And then there you go. So we got that. So we got our actual vertical and horizontal, horizontal spots here. Now, how do we actually select a row? So the way we do this is obviously, again, we're gonna use the lists, right? So I'm gonna say selected row, and we're going to say board, right? So that is like the board we're selecting, the information on this. And let's actually give it some space. There you go. So now I'm going to say vertical. So essentially the idea with this is that the first number is going to be vertical. So that would be the 0 that we're selecting, right? Now here's the problem. So the problem with this is that if you just select a vertical, right? What's happening is that we're reading the first, we're reading that letter without actually an index system. So if you remember when we would actually find how many items are in a list using the length function, we would actually get it without any, we would get the number, not the actual position, the index position. So what we need to do in this case, we need to do a -1. So that way we take 1 out. So that way we get the right position, right? So the next thing we need to do is we need to change the horizontal position, right? So we got the vertical here, and now we need to get the horizontal. So we're going to say selected row, and we're going to say, again, we're going to refer to a list, and we're going to find the horizontal. So we're going to say horizontal, and we're going to say -1. That's very important. And this one is going to equal x. So we found first of all, we found the vertical spot, right, the column essentially. And then we found the row with this, and then we replaced it with an x. It's that simple, guys. Very, very simple. Again, if you think about it, it's just like sometimes imagining this can be a little bit hard. It's like a chessboard. But, when you actually think about it a little bit deeper, you're going to figure it out. So that way, we replace it with x. Now, if you print this, these values are actually the one that we selected at this is replaced with an x. So if I run this, if we say 2, 3, we're going to replace column. Again, remember the first one is the column, right? So the 2 is the second column. So that would be 1 column, that would be 2 column. And number 3 is essentially the row of that number, right? So again, we got second column, third row, right? So again, very simple to understand if you think about it, but again, it can be a little bit challenging. So it's better if you imagine it like a chessboard, right? Again, second column, we got 1, 2, and then row 3. So that would be this row. So guys, let me know if you have any questions about this. I know it can be a little bit challenging to understand because you're working with way too much code, and visually it can be a little bit complicated. But let me know if you have any questions. I usually try to explain as visual as possible, but sometimes you just have to use your imagination with this stuff. And we're going to do another fun practice in the next lesson because I want to close the whole thing, and we're going to build something really, really cool in the next one. But I'll see you in the next one, guys.